All right, new video here. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Let's dive in a little bit here on Bitcoin and see what's going on. Obviously, there's been some fairly solid price action recently. So I published a new report. You can find it there. You can always sign up by just putting your email. There's no cost to do so. Bitcoin opens the door to higher values and money flow. Money flow is going to determine if this run's going to work or not, in my humble opinion. So let's go through a couple of things here first. First thing we did is take a look at the weekly. And look, we're looking at, is there a potential here for a shift in the trend locally, maybe on lower to medium range timeframes? Do we have a shift, and what does that mean? What does that possibly mean? So on the weekly chart, you can kind of see this trend line here, since that April low, which, by the way, if you're following the newsletter, we're all over that 74K range, all over that. There is this kind of general uptrend, bull market trend line, if you will, here going back. It's been respecting that. This is the 21 weekly EMA. You can see it respecting that. That's a nice candle. It's red, but it did finish well in the upper half of the range. Volume was up, so there was distribution technically that week, more distribution. But that was nice to see it close up in the upper half of the range. You can see the money flow has been in and out. It's been indecisive on the weekly. So we're still kind of hovering in between, a little bit of no man's land. On the daily chart, a couple things I noticed here going from orange to blue. We have a higher low, boom, down here, and now we're a little bit higher. And then a higher high, same here. We hit this, now a little bit higher here, already established. So we have a higher low and a higher high. That's a change. If you go back here and through all of this we've been dealing with, all back in here, we haven't had that in quite some time. So that is a change. If we look at the 4 hour, I'm going to go show this actually as of right now. Here's live. Let me get rid of that here on TradingView. We can see the 4 hour. There's been a nice move here. It's flatlining down here at a nice level. It was basically between that 107K, 109.5K-ish range, really hammering that 109 area. And we do see money flow come in. We do see green candles on the 4 hour and green volume bars that are higher than the red. I wouldn't call this an explosion, just to be perfectly frank, but it's nice to see. I will say that. It's definitely a positive to see that. If we get into the liquidation heat map, you can see that obviously above us there's some liquidation. We saw at the a couple weeks ago at the Fed meeting, there was a chunk of liquidity above, and sure enough, it went up there, grabbed it, came right back down. Is that the same thing going to happen? Nobody knows. All we can do is use the tools that we have and have an open mind to evaluate the situation. So I put down some notes here. Look, right now, I would say there is a possibility to maybe enter into a more bullish phase, a more exciting phase. In my view, my humble opinion, it is very, very reliant on money flow, accumulation, distribution. We're seeing these higher highs, a higher low. We're seeing some nice things develop here. But is the money flow going to come in? Are we going to get a thrust? And if you want to know what a thrust looks like, you can look at other things. Let's pull up, here's AMPX. So you're seeing weekly surge, big volume jumps here. I know this is a stock, it's different from Bitcoin, just showing it as an example. And you're seeing more action and a follow through, more energy, continuing that trend, continuing the momentum to the upside. Haven't really got that with Bitcoin in quite some time. Here's the weekly, a live look at the weekly. So we'll see. I think that's a big part of this, what's going on here. We'll see what happens there. Fundamentally, I still see those same challenges hovering over us. Growth in M2, the rate of change of the growth in M2, Besant's flex there and what he did with the supply schedule. And then, excuse me, I know MicroStrategy has been rallying rate recently. Obviously, it's highly correlated to the exchange rate of Bitcoin. But this whole treasury kind of dilution thing, I still see as kind of hovering over us. I mean, unless Bitcoin explodes and goes straight to 500K and puts that in the rearview mirror. But without the growth, accelerating growth in M2, I'm not sure that's even plausible in the near intermediate term. So it's looking good right now on local levels. Let's see what happens. We got to see what happens. The money flow's got to show up and make it happen one way or another.